Joe, we have worked with hundreds, actually thousands of solopreneurs at this point through our events, through our community, on the podcast. What do you think, aside from like wanting to run a life first business, what do you think they complain about the most? Not complain, but have the most issues with?
It's always about getting clients, lead gen, I need to get more customers.
Yes. And while I will not argue that customers are necessary to bring in income and run a business, which obviously they are, a lot of times what I have seen is people aren't setting up their businesses efficiently and aren't figuring out ways to streamline their operations to one, get clients, but also to live the life that they want to live. And so they don't start with that why in mind. So their brain immediately defaults to must get clients, must get clients, must get clients. And that turns into their whole business. And then they burn out from their whole business because they're running a business that they never wanted to run in the first place. Is that kind of the pattern you've been seeing?
Yeah. It's a multi-pronged, whatever has multi-prongs. It's a fact that very few solopreneurs niche down as much as they should in order to get attention from the people they actually want to serve, right? So there's that aspect of it. There's the fact that they don't necessarily define the product around the life they want to live, right? So they want they want weekends off, but then they create a product that involves them working lots of hours to get it done, and they're charging by the hour. So now they're in a position where they if they don't work the hours, they don't make the money. And so there's a lot of mistakes like that that go into this problem, which is really a function of, as you said, thinking through the kind of business that you need to run in order to support what you want for your life.
Yeah. I think before you ask yourself, how do I get the next client? You need to be asking, these are some questions that I think are important. What do I want my days to look like? Like genuinely. How do I actually need to earn what do I actually need to earn to fund the life that I want to live? You may not need as much as you think you do to run the life you want to live. And maybe you need more, but you need to think of what that life looks like. You need to think of the kind of work that energizes you versus what drains you and when to do that work. Like you were saying, if you don't want to work on the weekends, don't run a business where you need to work on the weekends. Maybe don't start a wedding photography business. And then
Right.
who do I want to work with? I mean, that is so huge. The people you work with, there's in the show, oh gosh, it's the like satirical vampire show. What We Do in the Shadows. There's a character who's the energy, he's just an energy vampire. And he's not a regular vampire, he just sucks your energy. And it's like, if these clients are your
He's
energy
real.
yeah, exactly. And in the show, he is. And if these clients are your energy vampires, get rid of them. They're not going to they're not going to lead to the life you want to live anyway. So think about questions like that and then think, okay, if I only want to work Mondays or Friday, if I know I want to stop at 5 p.m., like think backwards and think realistically, how many clients can I take on between 9 to 5 if I'm running it solo? And if you need X amount and you don't think you can get it done to make the income you want, then you consider outsourcing. You consider automation. You consider AI. Or you think, okay, I can take these amount of clients and maybe I raise my prices so that I don't need as many clients.
Or change your pricing strategy. So maybe instead of charging hourly, you're charging based on a project, and especially charging based on the value you're creating, not on some arbitrary hourly rate that people seem willing to pay for your services. Because somebody might say, well, I can only pay $90 an hour for that. But when you look at the work you do, I was talking to somebody the other day, and it was, they made, I don't know, I think it was something like $500, and realized that the work they had done had saved the company $400,000 on lost investments. There were no details given, but the person said, "Gee, I probably could have charged $5,000. They would have been thrilled."
Yeah.
And that thinking through that value add, instead of just, what's a fair rate for what I do? is really a powerful way to raise prices. And, let's face it, you can't have a life first business if you're not making enough money to survive. So we got to put that on the table, and you got to do that. But that doesn't necessarily mean more customers and more hours worked.
No, exactly. And I mean, we'd be lying if we said it wasn't some trial and error. Sometimes you really do have to go through that trial and error to see what works with your schedule. You are now a solopreneur, or you've been a lifelong solopreneur. Joe, you are unemployable. You've been an entrepreneur for decades. So some people have,
1990.
yes. So some people have that background too. But if you're listening to this show and you're like, this is resonating with me, just take a look inward, not to get like too foo-foo, but you do need to look inside and be like, what do I actually want? If somebody asks you, how much money do you want to make? And you're like, oh, I mean, a lot of money. I mean, can you make a lot of money while also making it to your kids' soccer games? And what is a lot of money? And like, it just, you need to have that holistic view to run a life first business.
When my nephew was very, very little, I was with him and he wanted raisins. I said, how many raisins do you want? He said, too much. And I think some people do that with income. They, how much do you want? I want too much. If you want to make as much money as you can possibly make, don't be a solopreneur. You need employees. I know people talk about it's going to be the $1 billion solopreneur company, and it'll probably happen. But, there's a lot of things that can happen once. If you want to make a lot of money and you want to increase your odds, hire employees, build an employee-based business. Don't be a solopreneur. If you want to build a life around what you want, a solopreneur is a great path.
And that doesn't mean you can't make a living. Like we're just saying not the next trillionaire.
Great. Yeah, you won't necessarily be a billionaire, but no, people make 6 and sometimes even 7 figures as solopreneurs. And I mean, 7 figures, there's a lot to that. And there's some luck and there's some, amazing skill involved and the right thing at the right time. But making well into 6 figures as a solopreneur is not at all unreasonable.
Yeah.
And, most people can live on that pretty comfortably.
Yeah. And again, it's a matter of where your priorities are. And I just think if you want to, one where you can be with go grab a cup of coffee with your friends or do a workout class at 9 a.m. and then work for a few hours and then do this and then do that. Like, think of how many hours you actually want to work and then up those prices. So you only have to work those hours and you can still live the life you want. There are a lot of ways to approach that, which is what we are going to be talking about in the Aspiring Solopreneur in all of our episodes moving forward, is how you can achieve that, as well as LifeStar in general. So, Joe, anything else for today?
Not really. Just I think you're a great example of somebody that's done this. You talked about how you were working so many hours when you first started as a solopreneur, but you've balanced it out. You have time for your kids, you have time for other things, and you put the time that you need to in to do the job that you've agreed to do here. Mm-hmm. So it's you've done a good job of that. And
so everybody, just refer to me if you have any questions. Just kidding. But we do have a lot to teach from all of the solopreneurs that we've talked to who've been able to do this, and we're excited to continue to provide that information to you. But as always, leave a 5-star review if you found this episode helpful or motivating or anything, or you're just like, I want to do a good deed today. Let me give that 5-star review. It helps us spread the word to other solopreneurs looking to build a life first business. Subscribe to the show on your favorite podcast platform and share this episode with a friend. And we'll see you next time on the Aspiring Solopreneur.